Round of applause. And also our keynote speaker, Mr. David Carty, invited guests from the private and public sectors, sponsors, students, staff of the Department of Physical Planning. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to this, the first Built Environment Expo 2024 put on by the Planning Department. I want to be bold and say annual expo, as it is the intention that this will become an annual event held on this day, November 8th, which is celebrated globally as Planning Day. I want to start off by commending the team at the Department of Physical Planning for taking the step to organize this event and opening discourse with the public on the importance of planning within our island. Can I get a round of applause for their efforts? The theme for this year's Planning Day is Homes Start with Planning. Here in Anguilla, we have expanded on this theme to speak more generally on shaping the future of Anguilla, utilizing sound planning principles, smart technology, and sustainable practices in keeping with the number 9 of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. An approach which is laid out in more detail in the address by the Honorable Minister of Home Affairs, whose portfolio includes responsibility for physical planning. While Minister Hodge has had to travel overseas, it was important to him to contribute to today's proceedings, so he recorded his remarks before his departure. We are also grateful to have a keynote address from none other than Mr. David Carty, a man of many talents and pursuits, including being a staunch advocate of sound and sustainable environmental practices. It is fitting that Mr. Carty has been selected to present the keynote address today, titled Building Through Time, From Traditional to Modern Adaptive and Resilient Styles. He is one of Anguilla's most renowned historians, and we will all most certainly walk away with food for thought from his presentation. Finally, let me express our sincere gratitude to the members of the private sector who have responded to the ministry's request to sponsor this expo and has partnered with us in bringing this expo to life. Your favorable response has demonstrated to us that the private sector recognizes the role it has to play in building a smart and resilient Anguilla with a foundation on strong and sustainable planning principles and practices. We look forward to widening and deepening the engagement with you and other stakeholders in the future. Again, we do hope that you find Expo to be both educational and enjoyable. Welcome. At this time, I'm going to invite the team to bring forward the minister's presentation, which will be via video. One moment, please. Okay. Okay, unfortunately, we don't have the minister's address at the moment. We'll be working on that and we'll present it at some point later. So we move on to the keynote address by Mr. David Carty. And Mr. David Carty is a renowned and highly respected local historian, culture custodian and storyteller, environmental activist, skilled boat builder, former parliamentarian and educator, among other roles. His many titles reflect his dedication across numerous fields, each of which he approaches with exceptional skill and commitment. Describing him as a dynamic and multifaceted and describing him as dynamic and multifaceted only begins to capture his influence and impact here on Anguilla. When the department set out to select a keynote speaker for today, it was unanimously decided that Mr. Carty was the ideal choice. His deep knowledge and passion for local history and his environmental stewardship make him the perfect person to bring our theme, Building Then and Now, from traditional to resilient to life, to life. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. David Carty as he takes the podium. More of a welcome than that, please. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you very much for that very nice introduction. I don't get many of that so much often, but anyway. And thank you for inviting me to say a few words on this first occasion. I have a prepared address because I figured I would share some information that young people might find interesting, and I'm glad to see so many of them here this morning. But thank you again, and my address is simply entitled, Good Planning is Good Common Sense. So let's start with a little look back. On the 6th of September 2017, we can all remember the trauma we experienced on that day. Hurricane Irma with a Category 5 force swept over us, earning the title as one of the strongest Atlantic hurricanes ever, even recording on the Richter scale, which is supposed to measure earthquakes. Yet even with that destructive Cat 5 power, only one citizen lost his life. As far as I know, very few persons, if any, were rendered homeless. And homeless, although considerable damage was done, particularly to infrastructure. About 10 days after the storm, when all the debris was cleared from the roads, I was driving in my pickup truck along Back Street in South Hill, and I stopped to look at some activity on the jetty at Road Bay, where some cargo was being offloaded from a Royal Navy ship. It was a beautifully peaceful evening, perhaps the complete polar opposite to the violence we had endured 10 days before. As I watched the activity below us, a young friend from South Hill jumped into the back of my pickup truck and loudly declared, "Mr. Carty, Anguilla ain't easy. We get them licks from a Category 5, but Anguilla could attack a 7. I don't quite remember what I said to him, although I felt like taking a stick and chasing him down the road. But it got me to thinking, and I got to think of the past. None of us here remember, but some of us will have heard about Hurricane Donna, which struck Anguilla on the 3rd of September 1960. Hurricane Donna was a Category 4 hurricane. 4 citizens lost their lives. 250 were injured. Every fishing boat across the island, those were sailing boats at that time, the precursor of the modern racing boat, every fishing boat was destroyed. 14 schooners and sloops, 7 of them in Road Bay alone, were wrecked. 30% of housing was destroyed, and 1,000 persons rendered homeless. The experience of Hurricane Donna gave the Anguillians of that generation a chance to focus on good common sense. Luckily, at that time, when we barely had an economy, many men found work in the US Virgin Islands, which was in the midst of a building boom. And most of them found work in construction. In that milieu, good practices in building was transferred, and the art of reinforced concrete for construction took hold. Tragically, if you turn the clock back again, 2 of the 4 deaths in Hurricane Donna were from collapsed concrete homes that were not reinforced with steel bars. So hard lessons were learned. But the fact is that Hurricane Donna was the reason Anguilla did so well in resisting the onslaughts of Hurricane Louis in 1995 and Irma in 2017. Good common sense creates good planning. If we turn the clock back even further from 1960, we would see that Anguilla as a marginal colony, which simply means in economic terms, a colony that was virtually worthless. Anguilla had even poorer housing than most of its population. For the better off, you could have, if you could afford it, a stone-cut ground floor with a pitch pine floor, Wallaba shingles, and a Wallaba roof, and trimmings made from white pine. Wallaba and the pitch pine came from Guyana. The white pine would come from Canada. You can see this type of construction with the cut stone right over here at Wall Blake House and other buildings across the island, though not many. It might interest you to know that the cut stone now used to build and reconstruct the Bethel Church at South Hill was quarried in Scrub Island and brought by sloop all the way to Road Bay and up the hill to the church and to other buildings that could afford it. Those people who are not that well off had simple wooden homes, two-room homes, made of pitch pine and Wallaba shingles, but set on stones, rocks, which of course made storms an absolute threat because storms would just topple them over like a joke. The very poor did wattle and daub, and we still have photographs of wattle and daub homes. The last one standing, I think, was at Wattis's. And wattle and daub are where people used to take sticks and twine the sticks together, and then plaster the sticks with mud mixed with cow dung, horse dung, mule dung, goat dung, any animal dung that they could find, which worked like a cement. You can imagine what that type of construction would stand up to in a hurricane. And then, important in all of that evolution right up to 1960, and I use 1960 as a cutoff, there was the culture and social constructs that supported that reality. With an economy dependent on seasonal salt trade, very seasonal, subsistence, smuggling, and immigration, the circulation of cash was now almost non-existent. Very few people, apart from a couple public servants, could expect a regular monthly wage. Remember at that time, when the local doctor had to double as the magistrate, that showed you how poor Anguilla was and how, as old people like to say, behind God back we were. That social construct, out of that came the wonderful idea of the jollification, which emerged and became a social construct where friend helped friend, neighbor helped neighbor, family helped family, to at first plant subsistence grounds, haul and launch boats, and then transferred itself into construction as well, where the jollification was used, even in my teenage years, to pour a roof or to pour a floor. So this continued right through and after Hurricane Donna and the Revolution until the mid-1970s. The jollification remained alive and well. And even though the concrete pouring at those days was shovel, rubber buckets, and a lot of hard work, it worked, even though we had at that time some small 1 ton or 1 bag cement mixers. Everything had to be done by hand very laboriously. But the jollification did another thing. It bonded communities together. Families and communities became entwined, which became a very strong social base for our communities. But the absence of a real economy and the almost total lack of governance, which helped trigger the 1967 revolution, also meant that land tenure was blurred, not clearly defined and demarcated. Ownership of land was based on memory, where persons remember that their forebears worked a piece of land or a piece of ground from a certain tamarind tree or a blally tree up to a piece of rock, where I remember my great uncle used to sit down to eat some roast corn. None of that was really helpful in developing a real economy. But the success of the revolution in 1967 meant that Anguillians were resolute in moving forward to develop effective governance. And a lot of what had passed in former times as traditional and okay had to change. Nowhere was this more difficult and yet more foundational in our development of a new economy than in the enactment, and this is very important, that we almost all overlook, the enactment of the Land Adjudication Ordinance in 1974. Pursuant to that ordinance, a comprehensive cadastral survey of the entire island was carried out so as to provide a definitive adjudication of rights and interests in all land. The survey was concerned with the demarcation of land for the purpose of defining parcels of land and for the proper registration in a legally established land registry. This survey, carried out by teams of surveyors from the UK, was thorough and intense and caused enormous social tension as land disputes erupted. The cadastral court, which was set up on the ground floor of the old Ruthville Auditorium, were the scenes of bitter arguments, over the position of bounds, and friendships were strained, families were torn apart, but it had to be done. It was a necessary process, and it laid the structural foundation for a new economy where property rights could be legally established, thereby providing collateral for loans, which in turn stimulated development. To be sure, land disputes are still alive and well, and access is always a thorny issue. But the clear establishment of property rights out of that piece of legislation with an effective registry has made a profound difference to our development. With that brief overview of the past, we must now look to the future. If the lessons of adaptation we learned from Donna were painful but useful, we must now be even more prepared to adapt again. Good planning is good common sense. The lessons for us in Irma in 2017, as were the lessons this year in Beryl, in the Grenadines and Carriacou on the 1st of July, very early in the season, and what has happened with Hurricanes Helene and Milton in the United States this year are stark reminders that we are now entering a new world, a new geological era, appropriately named, those of you in school, the Anthropocene. Anthropy means God, which means man, and scene means age. Anthropocene is the new term geologists are using to define the history of the planet, an era influenced by man. Humans are the principal drivers of climate change. I could get carried away here and keep you here for the rest of the morning. I promise I will not. But let me just say this. I'll try and limit myself to just a few facts. The planet is warming. You do not need scientists to tell you that today. Natural disasters are proliferating all over the world, and it's not just hurricanes. People in Spain threw mud at their king this week over the flooding in Valencia. I could be even more dramatic. But whatever happened in Carriacou and Petit Martinique, or the US, or Spain, or Italy, or Pakistan, or Australia, or wherever you choose to throw a dart at a map of the planet, the world is changing. And our corner of the Eastern Caribbean, our 35 square miles of precious property, is planted in a place where in one of the highest indices of vulnerability on the planet. And things are not looking good. With radical political change now imminent in the United States, large economies seemed poised to unleash even more emissions from the fossil fuel industry, which could without exaggeration, mean that our grandchildren will face a radically different Anguilla than we do today. The Department of Planning has an onerous responsibility. It has to balance the needs and demands of a growing economy for building and expansion with the need for spatial efficiency and safety for the general good. This is more than ensuring roads and parking is available and spaces are sufficient. It is now much more. We have to bear in mind that more radical change is coming, and we must prepare to plan and adapt for it in far more sophisticated ways than we did after Donna in 1960. That is the subject of another address and a days-long seminar of very deep thinking. We can't deal with that today. But the planning department cannot do it alone. The vibrant construction industry must help, along with architects, engineers, investors, and policymakers, if we are to adapt smartly and effectively. For adapt, we must. A new world is dawning, and Anguilla must be prepared. Good planning is good common sense, and I hope this event will raise awareness to the work of the planning department and our responsibility to plan for a better tomorrow. And I will also hope, and I will pray hard, that we never have to test the theory advanced by my young friend from Backstreet, that Anguilla could have taken a 7. Thank you very much.
Good planning is good common sense. I agree. And I do believe that we do need to hold a seminar to plan and brainstorm how we are, as a people, are going to respond to the changes that we're seeing in the world today. So it was a very great presentation. Can I get a round of applause again? Thank you, Mr. Carty. Now we're going to hear from the team behind this spectacular event, the planning department, as I invite the Deputy Principal Planner, Mrs. Sharon Roberts Joseph, and other senior members of the planning department to the podium to interact with you and give a brief presentation. Welcome them as they come to the podium. A greater reception for them. They have planned this event. They are starting outreach with the public.
Good morning, everyone. And again, we thank you so much for coming here and sharing with us on World Planning Day. And so that you can get an idea of what we do and why we do it. Again, thank you to Mr. Carty, who, as usual, did not fail to present such an inspiring and eye-opening presentation. So we're not here to give another presentation, another formal presentation. What we would like to do is just introduce very briefly the sections in the department and try and get you to understand basically the method to our madness. So this is the Chief Building Inspector, who is responsible for our building section. And this is our electrical inspector, who is responsible for the electrical certificates, and that is produced from the department, which is necessary in order for you to get your connection at ANGLIC. And of course, the whole process, it's a 3-tier process, and it starts with the planning section where, you submit plans to the department for everything from a house to a hotel to a subdivision to a booth selling chicken on the road. So it starts with us, it goes to the Land Development Control Committee, which is the body that makes decisions on the island as to what development is appropriate for what area. So it's all about land use for us. So just bringing you back very briefly into history, the planning concept began in Anguilla in 1990. And we were a unit within the Department of Lands and Surveys. And we always say, lands and surveys, that's our mother, that's our father. And today we have a very close alliance, which needs to happen. And in 1997, under the United Nations program, we became a full-fledged department. We moved into this building in 1995. And from there, we have grown. We've got also to a forward planning section, which is responsible for developing policies and local area plans and action and specific plans for targeted areas. And with that, we use that together with our legislation, which is extremely limited and outdated, but that's another story. And that feeds into the planning system. And the Land Development Control Committee, they use that as their background, their guidelines to decide on applications. So that is a very brief history of planning. I will now turn you over to the building inspector, who will speak about the importance of codes, as Mr. Carty, trying to link what Mr. Carty said, when we had very basic rudimentary buildings and how we've come 360 where we have to adhere to certain codes, both from a building and an electrical standpoint.
All right, good morning, everyone. Okay, so I'll take you from after attaining your planning permission. After you've gone through the first approval, you will be required to attain a building permit. And that's what we regulate down in the building section. So basically, we will review your plan for your safety to begin with against the Anguilla Building Code. As Mr. Carter pointed out, codes are very important, and even more so as climate change and hurricanes become even more of a threat. So we review your plan versus the building code. Now, currently, since Irma, there have been some regional updates to the building codes, which play a big role in your building's resilience. So in the building section, our main focus is to ensure that your building is built to a standard to promote resilience, right? I'm sorry. Say again? Okay, so I just wanted to also take the opportunity to express the importance of ensuring that I want to clear up a misconception. Once you have received your planning permission, it's very critical that you also receive your building permission and complete the process. So in a nutshell, that's what the building section does at the department. I'll now turn you over to the electrical inspector for a brief word.
You have a question? Oh, we have a question over here. We taking questions?
If you can hold it just after his, we're going to open the floor very briefly for some questions. So make a note of it. Thanks.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. As said before, I'm the electrical inspector, and it's my responsibility to enforce the Electricity Act and in relation to ensuring that all electrical installations are done in relation to the National Electrical Code, which is the code that is defined as the code for Anguilla when it comes to electricity. Based on the process, once you have received your planning permission, you've received your building permit, and now you're ready to build, your electrician is now responsible for filling in what is called a specification of electrical installation form that states exactly how the electrical installation is going to be done for the property. As part of that process, they would submit the form and we would schedule times for inspections. That's a process that could be one inspection to multiple inspections depending on the size of the development. The key thing is that you cannot be energized by ANGLEC or any utility without first going through the electrical inspection process and being issued an inspection certificate. Yeah, and that's about it in relation to the electrical inspection process.
So taking you to the future now, and where we are at today, we have been blessed to we have quite a few technology tools that has been integrated into the planning process, which we use right now to assist with decision making, to make so that the board, the planning board, can make more informed, technologically informed decisions. Such things as our GIS, Geographical Information Systems, which is a tool that we use in order to analyze a lot of the areas that come in being proposed for development. Lands and Surveys has quite a very good LIS system, which they're building on continuously. And we recently had the island, I don't know if you guys know, had a flyover, and we have new imagery that again helps us with making informed decisions. So going forward, we intend to incorporate more and more technological advances into the planning system and the building system as well. I will now, if there's any questions, we'll just take a few questions. Debbie, I know you had one, so you can start off.
Thank you. My question is, right, to elaborate for the students' sake, right, you touch on the resilience of the building. Can you elaborate what that is so that they would understand exactly what it is? Because in David's speech, he mentioned that some building collapsed because there wasn't sufficient reinforcement. Can you elaborate on that for the kids to let them understand what your section requires when you submit for approval?
So in planning, you always start with the planning at the planning stage. And some of the key things in the effort to build resilience is setback distances and where people site development. And we have policies in place which are there to promote that resilience, whereby depending on where you plan to locate, you have to set back a certain distance. We are a coastal country, island, and we are vulnerable as a result. So that's one thing we look at. We also look to ensure that people are not building in flood-prone areas or areas along certain areas along our coast where you can have slippage and it becomes a disastrous situation. And now from the building section.
Okay, so resilience relates to, as it relates to buildings, relates to the building's ability to withstand any adverse events such as earthquakes or hurricanes. Mr. Carter mentioned back then buildings were unreinforced, and the reason why they would have collapsed was because certain building materials have certain properties. For instance, we take concrete. Concrete has the property where it can withstand a lot of compressive forces, right? But it's very weak in tension. So for instance, a roof slab would be a member in tension because it's being dragged down by gravity, right? So it's very important to add the reinforcing bars to take up that tensile forces that the slab will endure, will go through. So resilience as it relates to buildings has to do with ensuring that the building can withstand any adverse forces, wind forces, earthquake forces, to ensure that the building keeps you safe, right? Okay, and then in terms of what we review in the building section, you'll be required to submit detailed drawings of your structure, from your footings to your walls and your roof structures, your plumbing plans, electrical plans, roof framing plans, basically any element that will make up the components of your building. So in terms of what you submit, those are the things that you would have to submit, and those are the things that we review.
Are there any more questions or any thoughts? No? Okay. So at this point, we'd like to introduce the rest of our team, our dynamic planning team. We'll first start with, and I'll ask everybody as I call their names, and just come here so everybody has, you have an image of who we are. So, starting with our Principal Planning Officer, Mr. Vincent Proctor. Yeah. This is a gentleman with a wealth of experience and training. He is, I would say, a very dynamic planner, and we're very, very fortunate and happy to have had him mentoring us all these years. Next, we have, I'll go into the forward planning section, and we have Miss Sylvia Ernie. She is our senior, up here, Sil, up here. She's our senior planner in our forward planning or development planning sections, and that's where we create policy and plans. And again, Sylvia has been with us for many years, and we're very grateful to have her expertise all the way from Peru. And we've got another senior planner, Mrs. Elizabeth Flood. She has recently joined our team, as recent as last year. And she hails from the UK. And again, she brings a wealth of information in rural planning, and so we're happy to have her on board. And we've got Osana, our newest and dynamic, well, not so new anymore. Osana has been a breath of fresh air. She's been, energetic and vigorous. And I have to say, in planning, for whatever reason, we always have a problem, and I'm speaking to you, the students, in getting new people to study the field of planning. And it's a very diverse, very dynamic, very exciting field. Diane, and every year we have a drive when we come to the career day and we try to get planners. And Osana was one of those. Osana started with us when she finished sixth form, and she enjoyed planning so much that she stayed on with us for a year, and then she was the recipient of a scholarship, and she went off to the UK and she studied planning, and she's been back a year and 6 months now, and she's just taken off to another level. And it is due to her that we're having this fantastic activity here today. It's her initiative and her drive. So we thank you, Asana. And we also have another young planner on board. Oh, sorry. Julian Hughes. Oh my God, how can I forget Julian Hughes, our senior GIS officer. And I'm telling you, this department would not be the department without Julian. Julian is the most senior of us all. Julian single-handedly is responsible for training each and every one of us when we came into this department. So this guy does some fantastic things in the GIS section. And we've got Carlston Julius, who is the planning technician in development control. He's also the enforcement officer. He is Carlton. He is, we call him Chippy. Chippy is, again, this department would not be the same as it is without Chippy. You know, you're having a party, Chippy's the guy. You know, you have to send out an enforcement notice, Chippy's the guy. You have to site visit, he does the site visits, he prepares the plans that then go to the board. And we now have on board, one of our newest members on board, and this is Mr. Carlton Smith, and he is working with Julian, understudying Julian. His training is in GIS, and he is, I believe he is going to, with all the new innovative technology on board, he's the guy that's going to take us to that level that we want to go to. Using, you see, he's got his drone out there and everything. And we have our administrative staff, Charlene Gums, right here. This is our executive secretary. Without our dedicated team in the front office, you know, we would be nowhere. And together with her is our Drusilla Carter, who is one of the admin staff in the front office. And it starts in the front office when you submit your plans, and these ladies make sure everything is in order and process them, and then we take it from there. So when you come to the department, you will meet either one of these faces, and they'll take care of you. All right? And that's it. Thank you very much. Oh, yeah. Sure.
Let's get another round of applause for the planning department, please. Next up, and we're drawing to a close now, but next up we have a special video presentation by the Department of Physical Planning.
On World Town Planning Day, we celebrate the vital role of planning in shaping the communities where we live, work, and grow. This year's global theme, Home Starts with Planning, emphasizes that the foundation of every home and every community begins with careful strategic planning. It is through this process that we create environments that are not only functional, but also resilient, adaptable, and sustainable. In Anguilla, we are expanding on this theme by focusing on how technology is transforming the way we plan and build. As we move forward, we remain committed to integrating technology into our planning processes to build homes and communities that are not only well designed, but also ready to face the challenges of tomorrow. Through this approach, we are shaping the future of Anguilla, ensuring that our homes and communities are innovative, adaptable, and sustainable, and built to last.
Geographical Information System, better known as GIS, plays a critical role within the Department of Physical Planning. Currently, GIS is used to create and update comprehensive land use maps, helping us identify zoning areas and classify land use across the island. This technology also supports infrastructure management by mapping utility networks like water, electricity, and telecommunications. In the essence of environmental conservation, GIS helps us to identify and monitor protected areas, ensuring that development aligns with ecological preservation efforts. Additionally, GIS is vital in disaster management, where it aids in creating flood risk maps that guide safer development decisions.
Looking ahead, there are several potential uses of GIS that could significantly improve our processes within the department. Developing mobile GIS applications for the field data collection would enable real-time updates during on-site inspections, making the planning process more efficient and responsive. Integrating GIS with our permit management systems could also streamline development approvals, improving coordination and decision-making. Additionally, creating user-friendly, web-based GIS portals would allow for greater public engagement, enabling residents to provide information and accessing valuable information. By adopting these advancements, we can further strengthen our ability to create sustainable, well-planned communities, ensuring that GIS remains a key tool for shaping the future of Anguilla.
The Forward or Development Planning section plays a vital role in shaping Anguilla's future through strategic planning and policy development. Our responsibilities include formulating planning policies, preparing land use plans, developing local area plans, and creating development briefs that guide sustainable growth. We are closely integrated with the GIS section as both areas work together to ensure that decisions are informed by accurate, up-to-date spatial data.
We are actively incorporating technology into our planning functions to enhance efficiency and effectiveness. GIS is crucial for mapping land use patterns and environmental features, helping us assess potential development areas and ensure that our policies support balanced, sustainable growth. Additionally, we are exploring the use of 3D modeling to visualize development scenarios. By leveraging these technological advancements, we are improving the accuracy of our planning processes and ensuring the creation of resilient, future-proof communities. Our goal is to build a smarter, more sustainable Anguilla, where planning and technology work hand in hand to shape a brighter future for all.
The Land Development Control section plays a crucial role in managing land use and ensuring that developments across Anguilla comply with our planning regulations. We handle planning permits, monitor unauthorized developments, and work to ensure that all projects align with established zoning and land use guidelines. As we look to the future, we see great potential in adopting new technologies to improve our oversight and efficiency.
To enhance our operations, we are exploring the integration of drone technology for conducting pre-development site assessments and monitoring unauthorized activities. This approach will enable more efficient inspections and improve our capabilities. In addition, the anticipated implementation of our new Land Information System (LIS) holds significant promise for enhancing our operation. Once in place, the LIS will enable us to analyze sites remotely, providing quick access to critical data during meetings and facilitating faster, more informed decision-making.
This system is expected to alleviate the strain on resources, such as vehicle access and fuel costs, by reducing the need for in-person site visits. Furthermore, it will enhance our capacity to support the Planning Board in making data-driven decisions. By integrating these technologies into our work, we aim to foster smarter, more organized communities that will lead to a better future for Anguilla.
The building and electrical sections intends to improve building standards and building control methods through the use of technology in these ways. The use of drone technology not only to capture high-resolution images to facilitate building inspections, but also to promote an increased field presence and aid in remote ground truthing, hence effecting more efficient site visits. During site inspections, drones can allow inspectors to capture high-resolution aerial views and photos in hard-to-reach or inaccessible areas, such as roofs, overgrown or fenced areas, and cliff sides without putting field officers at risk. The use of GIS tools for mapping and efficient data management. Databases earmarking dilapidated hazardous buildings along roadways is currently being developed and populated. Additionally, a soil data bank is being developed to facilitate appropriate grounding methodologies relevant to the island's varying soil characteristics. The use of smartphones for more efficient communication between industry partners. Popular applications such as WhatsApp will not only be used to disseminate critical information related to codes and regional construction best practice updates, but also to facilitate electrical inspection approvals in real time. In general, the increased use of the aforementioned technologies within the building and electrical sections will facilitate data, storage, and data recall abilities. An increased field presence to effect enhanced compliance and risk reduction while safeguarding inspectors and improve communication and relations.
Planning, supported by technology, is key to building a sustainable and resilient future for Anguilla. Our commitment to smart growth and thoughtful development ensures that we not only address today's needs, but also lay a strong foundation for future generations. Through innovation and collaboration, we are shaping a future where our communities can thrive. Thank you for being a part of this journey. Thank you for being a part of this
Wasn't that an awesome video presentation? Your response didn't sound so can I get a round of applause for the video presentation by planning? All right, we've moved on to the vote of thanks, and this will be presented by the Chief Building Inspector, Mr. Cordell Niles.
All right, so as we wind down, we want to first say a huge big thank you to the planner and the department planner, Osana Tomlinson, for spearheading this wonderful event today. Thanks to fellow co-workers for their hard work in contributing. Thanks to Shamika Hodge for her opening remarks. To Kasim Ford for the opening prayer. The Honorable Minister Hodge for delivering his address that we will hopefully hear at some point. Mr. David Carty for delivering the keynote address. Principal Planner Vincent Proctor and Deputy Principal Planner Sharon Roberts-Joseph and other senior officials for their remarks. Titanium Sounds for their audio services, Clean Stream for live streaming today's proceedings, Police Prison BEP Services for the tents, Department of Disaster Management for tables and chairs, to government officials and departments present, the Ministry of Home Affairs for their support throughout, to all our sponsors, National Commercial Bank of Anguilla, DART, Anglic, Tara Carter, Kobe Design Anguilla, Motor World, Island Dream Properties, Tranquility Beach Anguilla, Trophy Properties Anguilla, Cocoon Real Estate, and Aurora Resort. Thanks also to all participants, invited guests and well-wishers, and all who've contributed in some way. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and we look forward to seeing you next year.
So we're at the close, and now is where you get to engage and browse around with the stakeholders that are present. Please feel free to ask all questions and discuss as necessary. Just a bit of housekeeping matters as it relates to the minister's presentation. It will be uploaded to the planning department and the government of Anguilla's social media accounts, so you can check that out when it is. And we also have some light refreshments that you can partake of that is in the middle of the setup here this morning. So thank you for being here and enjoy the rest of the expo.
white material itself is gonna keep the house cool.
Carlton. Hey, what's up? What's going on? Yeah, right? Yeah. Pick up a plan. A plan. All right, Corey? Yeah, yeah, good. Good day, everyone. Welcome to the Department of Physical Planning's Planning Expo 2024. We are live here with Clean Stream. We'd just like to introduce a few of our participants and industry partners. So we begin with, here we have Radar Design Management Company. Good day, Miss Radar Design. Okay, we'll wait till she's done. Eh? Oh. Okay, so while we wait for Deborah Winter, we can display her brochure of what her services are.
So then you would say that this is better for central air and
yeah, in terms of cooling and stuff, yes, this is better. Okay. Right? But like I said, it's not going to save.
Maybe we can move on and come back then. Yeah. Yeah, we can come back. So while we wait for Deborah, we'll move on and come back. Okay. Give me a minute. You want to say a few words, Mr. Proctor, for Clean Stream? Just a little thank you for the viewers.
Oh, you on the... Let me say, I am really taken by surprise because I never expect the event to turn out this well. I think it's a success, I must admit. And I am happy to have a wide cross-section of Anguilla, a wide cross-section of stakeholders present. I'm hoping that everyone will basically ask all the questions they want to ask as it relates to planning and the importance of planning in the built environment.
Thank you, Mr. Proctor, for those brief words. We'll move on to, here we have Leeward Construction Limited. Leeward is one of the leading contractors on the island. And we have Mr. Leroy Gums, the owner of Leeward Construction. We'd like to invite you to say a few words to the listening public.
Well, good morning to everyone. This is very exciting, and it's good to know that stakeholders and whoever involved in getting this going, it's very important to know that they get every one of us, all the business people, with awareness of what's happening and the intention. So I'm so glad as director, Leeward Construction Company, it's a part of this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gums. And thank you for participating today. Okay. So we'll move on. Right now we are at the desk of Mr. Edwin Nichols of NedCat Designs, one of the island's prominent architects and we'd like to invite him to say a few words for Clean Stream and the listening public.
Okay. Hi. So, yeah, this is our setup here. So we design and build on the island. Mostly we do like residential homes, and we entering like villas and renovating, different, elements and stuff like that. So yeah, so we also do consulting, estimation, construction. So it's a one-stop shop here, Yeah. And also this is my assistant, Zakris Hodge. He takes care of some of the plans right now. And, and we have a construction part, outside. So, anything else? Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Edwin. Okay, we'll move on to one of the more prominent names on Anguilla, RADS, Richards Architecture and Development Survey Co. We would like to invite them to say a few words. Mr. Richards.
Good morning, Anguilla. This is Richards Architecture. Like the planner said, we are one of the established names on Anguilla. We've been around for quite a while. We are spreading our wings, and we are a company who can give you all the services under one umbrella that's related to property development. Without going too deep into it, on my right I have Desiree Hennis, one of our long-standing employees. She's our office manager. And on my left I have Shamika Richards, our newest employee. She's just out of university, very fresh and ready to go. Our services include quite a few things in the property development field. We give you services that includes land surveying, real estate consultancy, architectural design and drawing, construction, cost estimation, property valuation, construction project management, and even building construction. Shamika might like to elaborate a little on some of those.
So as he discussed, we offer you all services property related. We can take you from start to finish. We offer services such as architectural services. We can design anything for you, from homes to villas, commercial properties, you name it, we design it. And we can also develop it and build it for you until it's a turnkey situation and you can go home to a well-designed, sustainable building. That's it.
Well said, well said. Desiree, would you like to say a few words?
Well, hello, Anguilla. It's been a pleasure for almost 20 years working with Richards Architecture and interacting with the Land Development Control Committee. And this is a one-stop shop. You want your property survey? Come to RADS. You want your bounds located? Come to RADS. You want a plan design? Come to RADS. You want the construction developed? Come to RADS. You want us to do the interior design? Come to RADS. It's a one-stop shop. We do it from the ground up and then hand you your keys, and it would be a sustainable structure. You wouldn't have anything to worry about. So contact us, 235-476-4333, and we are located in the Barbros building in the Valley.
All right, well said again. Thank you, Richards Architecture. And we move on to the NCBA, one of our key stakeholders and key players in the development process. So once you've attained your planning permission and your building permission, then you can go to the bank to make your dreams come true. So we have with us Chiron and Tiffany today.
Good morning.
So we invite you to say a few words.
Yes, good morning. My name is Chiron James and I am a representative of NCBA, and we are pleased to be here at this trade show. It's an honor. So today we are just here to outline the various products that the bank offers. We offer varying personal loans to include mortgages, land loans, and other personal loans. This process is quite simple. You are required to submit your job letter, your salary slips, proof of purchase, and along with other information depending on what kind of loan that you are applying for. But the process is quite simple, and I would invite everyone that is interested in either one of those loans. We also offer business loans, which my colleague will explain. We are inviting you to come over to the Credit Center and ask for more information regarding our products being offered.
Well, Sharon would have said a lot, but if I can just speak a little about our business loans. So our business loans don't really just consist of purchasing inventory, etc. Our business loans are, if you want to purchase a villa, construct a villa, construct apartments, those are also considered as business loans. So as Sharon said, we are located at the New Credit Center next to the gift box, so you can stop by at any day. We are open from 8 to 2 on Monday to Thursday and 8 to 4 on Friday, and we will be happy to assist you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Tiffany and Sharon. And we'll move on to the other tables. Here we have Can Engineering. So of Can Engineering, we have Mr. Carol Asif Niles, who will invite us to say a few words on the services Can Engineering offers and, what can be possible.
Okay, here at Can Engineering, we provide a couple of services. For example, land subdivisions, property appraisals, site surveys, construction surveys. Just about anything related to land and building. Yeah, we also provide a service for. Right here I have a couple of the equipment that we use. Total station, I don't have it set up, but laser level. We use this to check heights on our projects. And then we have a GPS system.
Here we have a live demonstration.
We use that. I'm just gonna give a little demo of some of the capabilities of the.
In the meantime, we have a quick brochure of what Can Engineering can offer.
So I just have a 3D model of topographic survey we did. And this is in the vicinity of the airport area. That will be the runway surface. So I can go anywhere within that surface. And be able to provide elevation or some kind of level. Okay,
thank you.
Just have a couple of plans that we also produce. Subdivisions, topographic surveys. So these are the type of plans we are able to produce using digital data.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Niles, for that quite extensive presentation. Okay, so we move on to another table. What's up, Ron? Okay, here we are now at the Department of Natural Resources, and we'd like to invite them to say a few words on what they do and their contribution. Here we have Mr.
Glasgow, Mr. Samuel Glasgow from the Department of Natural Resources, Environmental Unit. We're responsible for reviewing environmental permits that are sent by the planning department, and we use certain regulations and guidelines that enable us to adequately review the permits and send the comments to the Land Development Control Committee that makes the decision pertaining to development. On the board, we have some of the basic guidelines and regulations that we use. Yeah, some of the basic guidelines and regulations that we use to assess the permits and to send our findings and our comments to the
Land Development
Control Committee. Yes. So also we recently incorporated drone technology in monitoring the areas of rapid development in Anguilla. For example, we identify a few areas where we're receiving a lot of requests for development. For example, Shoal Bay is one of those areas, Meads Bay and Rendezvous Bay. We use the drone technology to map the areas and to develop base maps that can be used as reference in the future to see how the area's develop. See how the areas develop. So that's a part of what we do. Also, we have the invasive species section that looks at the invasive species plants that are common in Anguilla, and also those we have various regulations pertaining to, and also code of practices pertaining to how the invasive species plants are used in gardening and for development on property. We have Zaya, who is responsible for that section. I will hand over to her to discuss the invasive species section of the department.
Sorry. We have a few resources here. So the Department of Natural Resources, specifically the Environment Unit, has an invasive plant project, which is just looking for and trying to tackle some of the non-native problematic invasive species that we have. And so one of the things that we developed under the project was a horticulture code of practice, which just includes some very basic guidelines on what species to plant if you're developing an area, an office, or landscaping your personal home, just what species you should be planting, what species you should not be planting, and how to minimize the spread of species outside of your yard or your garden. So that's one of the resources that we have here, and we also have some stickers if anyone is interested. And that's it for the project.
Thank you very much, Department of Natural Resources. So we move on to another participant, Radar Design Management Company.
This project is actually meant to be a solar farm building. It's an office, but it's meant to be.
So just to recap, while we wait for Deborah again, some of our participants are NEDCAD Designs, RADS Architecture, NCBA, CAN Engineering, Quadlock, the Department of Natural Resources, and We had a representative from the Department of MICU, Department of Infrastructure, and there are a few other government departments participating and mingling and networking and sharing valuable information. So I think today was a good, we had a fairly good turnout, and I would consider the event a success. And we look forward to, right, you could probably display this. Okay, Deborah ready. Deborah ready. So we're back again with Radar Management Company. Here we have with us Deborah Winter, who is the and Naira Derrick, who is currently training with Radar Design. And so we'll invite them now to say a few words on what they do and tell us about them.
Do you want to go ahead? Go first. Yes, so we are Radar Design and Management Company. We are Radar Design and Management Company. So our core work is architecture, but we also do 3D design, we do work in drawings, we do mechanical design, construction project management, and we also do project estimation and sourcing. That's pretty much our core services.
Yes. Well, Deborah, just to say a few words, is one of our one of the most frequented architects to the department. So she's very.
I had no idea.
And she's I think one of the leading architects in 3D rendering, as you can see some examples here on one of her displays.
You can also have a look on my screen.
On the screen there you can get an example.
Okay, so these are some of the samples of the projects that we've done on Anguilla so far. I mean, among many others, right? Let me know if I'm moving too fast. And a number of these have already been built. Some of them are new projects and some of them are modified buildings. So older buildings that needed to get a refreshed look. We also do interior design as well. So these images show some of the interiors that we've done for some of our projects. This is also an interior. So this one shows a subdivision that we've done on the island. So we've done a few of those. So we just wanted to give a sample of what we also do in terms of urbanization. This is a commercial dog grooming park. A solar farm office building. So this building is actually meant to look like a solar farm, but it's an office building that will be located in the valley. Yes, and this is just a quick sample of some of the project estimates that we do. So we itemize your materials, your labor costs, and we give you a comprehensive estimate that you could give to your builder or to the bank if necessary. And that's the end of our presentation.
Good morning. So this is the physical planning department, and we're looking at this is the physical planning department. We're looking at the GIS section. If you look on the screen, we have a demo where I'm looking at some maps that is currently being worked on. This is a pilot project where we are looking at addressing all of the buildings in the built environment. And we have an example of that here, the identification tool in our GIS software is showing a physical address and a building number. And basically, these addresses would be based on the roads. As you can see, the dots that are along all of these roads, this is the valley area, and it extends out very far. All of these dots are 20 feet apart along the road, and all of them are branching out from a center point, which would be the Albert Lake stoplight in the area. And basically, the system works by assigning a number to the left or the right side of the road, both odd and even numbers, and the distance from the start point, and whichever number the building lands on would be the physical address. So for this example, we have number 4. The right hand side of the road is the even numbers. Number 4, right of way 1846, because this is not a road, it's a right of way, the valley. We also have other maps which we produce at the department locally. These are some of our disaster preparedness maps. We have flood maps. All of these help to disseminate critical information during the hurricane season, when we have flash flooding events, when you have hurricanes, torrential downpours. We can see which areas are susceptible to flooding based on their topography and the soil type. We have tsunami and flood zone maps, which would basically be showing places that are easily infiltrated by tsunamis and which would need to be evacuated in tsunami events, flooding. And we have a map showing the national land use or the proposed land use of Anguilla. And we have a key here showing all of the different types of land use. For example, green, which is easy to see, is agricultural. As you can see, part of the valley, parts of the west, and various parts in the center of the island are agricultural, and we have industrial as well, which is highlighted in red. Industry, purple. All of these maps help to identify areas for future development, future proposed development, as well as development which has already started. And we have a tsunami evacuation map. A draft map is not finalized yet, but this is a work in progress. The arrows are showing the areas which are pointing towards the dots, and those are assembly points, which are high ground, which would be areas on the island that would be identified as um, assembly points. So during a tsunami event, we can see that yellow is highlighted as hazard zones, which would be areas that would get inundated if a tsunami was a hit in that direction. And we have the assembly point which people should evacuate towards. So this, along with other maps, would help in natural disasters such as tsunamis to identify areas where people could evacuate to during natural disasters. On our table, we also have a showcase. We have some brochures about shaping our communities, understanding the role of development of physical planning. And we also have one of our tools which we use, which would be this drone right here. As highlighted earlier in the presentations, the drones are critical for creating photogrammetry data, basically taking very high resolution images of the ground and using that for mapping buildings, mapping roads, as well as looking for areas where there are coastal erosion. You might have cliff sides which are being eroded or falling apart. We might have dilapidated buildings that need to be condemned and other things such as that. And the drone helps to identify all of these things very quickly without having to drive there physically or being able to cover a large area more efficiently. So that is the work of the GIS section. Thank you for listening to me this morning.
All right, guys, that was a real lot of information to take in today. We thank you for tuning in, and please come on down and get familiar with what is going on in Anguilla as it pertains to physical planning, the right processes to take, procedures, and as always, to have a blessed day.